Hello, everyone. Today I want to talk about a movie I just watched. It was Final Destination Bloodlines. It's about a college girl reconciling with her absent mother after the death of her grandmother. So, the everything else is kind of just extra add-ons to it. The sixth edition to the Final Destination franchise. It was released in 2025. The series was created by a guy named Jeffrey Riddick. He looks like Don Lemon, actually, a mix between Don Lemon and John Warder. He's also kind of like a gay half black man, that kind of aesthetic. He kind of the idea for Final Destination started out as a spec script for the X Files, which is interesting. So it was supposed to be like a random episode of the X Files, but I guess they liked the idea so much that they turned it into its own movie. And so Final Destination was a big part of the 2000s. Like, if you grew up in the 2000s, like, that was like an event to watch a Final Destination film. Those films were so popular. For me, at least, the most popular one, especially around my time, was the third one. The third one was so popular amongst like kids and teens my age. Oh man, and roller coasters too. That was also a big thing. So yeah, it's a formulaic B movie where a character has a vision of several characters dying in some sort of accident. The person prevents everyone from dying, and they all die one by one. Because it's a story about life and death, there isn't much characterization. In narratives about life and death, all the boring human bullshit like personalities and character. So every character is a complete stereotype of some subculture, and they usually have like one or three personalities, which is stupid, asshole, or like obnoxiously doubtful. The films are frustrating because of the stupidity of the characters and because of the dramatic irony where the audience knows more than the characters, so we have to kind of watch them catch up for like the first 30 minutes, and we just watch them completely fail to recognize all the danger that they're in all the time. So these films are deeply frustrating, which makes the deaths kind of a cathartic release. And, I've noticed they really just enjoy watching the characters freak out. Especially the third one is basically just watching this main character, just watching a hot girl just freak out for like a full hour. That's the entirety of the third movie. Like, there isn't even a plot. It's just the girl just crying and freaking out for like a full hour and a half. Every film has the same formula: premonition, escape from death. People start dying, characters try to figure out what's going on, some more lore stuff, more death, and the final ending where usually the characters like turn on each other in some way, or death just starts going like really crazily aggressive towards them. So for context, Final Destination has a plot that basically rhymes. Each film has a similar format, but is different aesthetically. The first film are like nerdy high school students. The second are adult strangers. The third they're still high school students, but like a bit more of like a newer generation. And they're much more popular in this film. Also, the third one's also special for being a bit more standalone. The fourth one's basically the white trash one. And 5 are office professionals and business people. So the skeleton remains the same, but things change in like the details and like certain aspects and certain themes and whatever. I should go into more detail. So 1 is much more normal. It's not as over the top. It's just a regular like horror supernatural thriller film. The 2 is like where like classic Final Destination. I almost called it Final Fantasy. 2 is where classic Final Destination like really starts. Like everyone dies in like these really gruesome, over the top ways. That 2 is definitely where that starts. It also introduces a bunch of rules and lore, making it like really feel like they're trying to set up like a series or something. So it's kind of a level up of the first movie, which I always like. Sequels should always be like either a level up or just do something completely different. So 3 is basically a mix of the two. There's a lot of the same like plot beats, like high school students survive something, and everything's like a metaphor for something, and there's just a lot more deeper theming in this one that I could find, which I liked. So 3 has always been a personal favorite of mine. Oh yeah, anyway, 4 is collectively agreed to be the worst one. It really just delves into like the white trash of of the Final Destination series. The characters are the absolute like worst. It's very formulaic. They just stopped trying. They basically became like a series at this point. And there was so much obnoxious 3D in it that everything is just flying towards you. And when you watch it as a non-3D film, it's just distracting and annoying, and it looks ugly. There's a lot of CGI, and I think the initial death is just really silly. Like, how does an entire like whatever, like a NASCAR thing really completely collapse like that? It's much more sillier than say like a roller coaster or like a car accident or something. People like 5. It's a return to form. This is the most serious film out of all of them, I think, outside of the first one. Like, all the characters take this really like seriously and literally. Like, and a lot of the deaths are just way more just There's a lot more like dramatic irony. Like there's a lot more waiting. There's this really freaky gymnastic scene where like there's just so much like tension and waiting, and it's very anxiety inducing. And the kill take lifespan rule. So it's a rule where like if you kill someone, you get their remaining lifespan. And that rule is very interesting. It's introduced here. The characters start to turn against each other, and it becomes this real throughout survival of the fittest world. And yeah, because these characters are adult professionals, they're also just much more brutal and yeah, like I said, cutthroat about everything. So you get a lot more of the brutal human nature in that film. Every single group that the films follow, the people tend to act the same. Like so at its core, despite all being different stereotypes, all coming from different walks of life, they all kind of are the same, just humans in the eyes of death. It doesn't matter. It comes for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're nice or mean or young, old. All these films have something in common. They're all completely nihilistic, and expecting a positive end in a movie called Final Destination is just really just asking to be disappointed. So yeah, like it's pretty common that like basically everyone's gonna die. So it's not really a shock. Like, how do you escape this? How do you escape a literal existential horror? And it's one of the few horror films that actually like scares people I know. Or like with Final Destination, I always find like my friends and family that watch with me always like get up to leave because like sometimes it does just get like really disturbing. Mostly because it's the everydayness of all the murders that scares people. Yeah, the franchise has the franchise has been praised for its innovative premise of like the invisible abstract concept of death killing people instead of a usual like slasher like villain like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. So people like really enjoy the fact that the villain isn't some guy in a mask or some guy with a knife. It's almost like nature itself is like coming together to kill these characters. And it makes it almost like in an impossible fight. It makes them like the ultimate underdogs. Final Destination 6 Bloodlines review. So the movie's very interesting. It's basically like a soft reboot for the series. It features a family this time. Family raises the stakes spectacularly. The worst part is that the family doesn't really do anything with that. Like, there are just so many interesting things you could do with the family dynamic because like the people in a family obviously care about each other deeply, so there's going to be like a lot more urgency and stakes than like if just a bunch of different strangers are dying. There's a lot more of a rush, and there's going to be a lot more like seriousness to it, but like the movie never does anything with it, and I really don't like that. Now, I guess I'll just do like a quick little like plot summary. So we've been with a girl named like Stephanie. The characters call her Steffi, which I really like. I wish they called her Steffi more. Like I wish they like that was just like her main name in the movie. They kind of go back and forth, which is kind of annoying, but like I think Steffi was just a better name for this character. So anyway, we begin with a very good like subversion of the vision of like the past movies, where it's like she's having a vision of someone else, and we don't really know that. Like it's the 1960s is so far away now that like it really does feel like an alien planet. It's basically like it's kind of sad. Like now, like 60s and 70s movies are now considered period pieces because they're just so far away, and like the clothing and the technology just looks so alien now. Very strange because like growing up, they didn't feel that far away, but like now that I'm older, like wow, they really just feel like an almost different planet. So like going from like such an alien setting into like a college a lecture hall is like it's very it's a good push back to reality. And it's funny because like the character has a vision in class, and this is exactly how Life is Strange starts, and basically every episode of that's a Raven. So it's cool that so like I guess that's like a common theme for like a lot of movies, just a weird vision or dream in class. So if you're ever writing a story, like that's kind of the way to go, clearly. So it's cool that we go from like a very strange setting to a very common setting for a lot of young people who will be watching this movie, because everyone understands like what a lecture hall is. So we know that we're back in reality. So I think that is a good touch narratively. The thing that I really like in this film is the diversity. Like she is half Asian, but I'm not sure if she's supposed to be Chinese or Filipino or Hispanic. Like the narrative kind of just doesn't say anything about it. I wish they just elaborated on that just a little bit more, because I do really like the diversity in the film. It's much interesting. You don't really see many you don't see a lot of Asian representation in horror films at all. So it was kind of nice, and they did it very naturally. I really like that. I really appreciate that. And like half the actors are Canadian. I really love that. So that's very good. Anyway, she has visions of like her grandma Iris, who died at like a Space Needle Expo. So it's another building that's a stand-in for the Space Needle, and the building totally collapses and stuff, and like she dies. So they're wondering like what happened to Grandma Iris exactly. And so Grandma Iris is basically like the Bruno of the family that no one talks about. So It's weird that like she goes to talk to them, to talk to her cousin's side of the family about them, and like there's just so much exposition in this movie. Like so much of the movie is like just plot, lore. There's nothing like really happening. Characters just tell each other like things that they should just show, because like the dad's like, Grandma Iris, that brings back so many painful memories. And like, I wish I saw that in your character rather than you just saying it to me, like saying it to the audience. Like they basically just explain the backstory for the grandma, and it's literally just Laurie Strode's backstory from Halloween 2018, which I think is also just which I also think was taken from somewhere else. It's literally the exact same backstory. Like she experienced something traumatic. Child Services took her kids, who she trained to be like aware of this stuff, and then she basically lives as a hermit in like some like death trap house for like years, and so it's very, and the grandma basically has like an aging Laurie Strode and Carol from The Walking Dead vibes. So I wish they just did something original with that. But like most of the film is just the characters yapping about basically like, we're cousins, we love each other, right? Yeah, okay. There isn't much of a plot. It's just like lore after lore and commentary on the lore. It starts to feel like Scream, which makes sense, as like the 2020s are basically like a recycling of the 90s due to the 30-year cycle. And the 90s began with like a lot of like self-aware meta humor. The characters in this movie are very self-aware, and they can like actively see the Rube Goldberg stuff going on. It gives them a lot more agency compared to the other characters in the other films. And there's just a lot more like activeness to their characters, which I like. And the characters get to preemptively plan due to knowing more, which is nice. It made sense that the grandma was like an expert now. Like there are other films that did this, like Claire. First off, her name's Claire, like literally Clear. Her name's Claire, not Claire. It's Clear, and like that's hilarious. I love that. That's the best thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Anyway, so her name's like Claire, and she was a character that survived the first one, and she's in the second one, and she's like the expert now. Like how does surviving anything like this make you an expert on it? How does surviving one traumatic incident make you like the expert on it? Like if you get like robbed once, are you now like a robbery expert? If you get like stabbed, are you a stabbing expert? Like I understand you have experience, but I mean, like they literally act like Claire is it's strange. I don't know. And it kind of makes sense that the grandma is, because she spent like 50 years doing this, but at the same time, it's still weird. And I understand her being traumatized forever. It's weird because like the Vision traumatizes her for life, but like Steph seems to not be traumatized by anything that happens in this film at all. Like she sees all of her family die, and then I'll get to that later actually. So I want us to actually talk about the themes, metaphors, and the myths and like other stuff that they're related to. So there are a lot of like connections to the fact that like death is basically God. I don't know why they keep calling him death. It seems more like just God's doing this in general. But like anyway, it's just an all-powerful, intelligent force of judgment. Basically like just God in general. This is an Adam and Eve story where basically it's an attempt to be like God, and cheating death in a sense. It's like another attempt to avoid fate, which is, breaking a divine law. So it's one of those things where the characters keep trying to avoid their fate, and then it just doesn't work, because like another theme is inevitable judgment, which is a very common theme in Christianity. The core message is basically that you can't cheat your appointed time to die, and the characters keep trying to do that, and all they do is delay it. And it almost reminds me of that like Sisyphus story where he like rolls a boulder up a hill only for it to roll back down again. These characters just keep trying to stop an impossible problem, and it just makes things worse and worse and worse. There's also a lot of talk about prophecy and like visions and premonitions, which are all throughout mythology. The premonition is a vision of the future, and it makes the main character a reluctant prophet. All the characters come to them for advice and how to fix things and how to basically do stuff. So the main character comes like the seer and the unofficial leader, because they have the power. And usually the power seems to just be like anxiety or kind of like uneasiness. Like it's always like the final girl type character that's usually like the most like morally centered. Usually the character that's just the most normal out of the whole cast that usually survives. There's also a lot of themes of like temporary sacrifice, which is also another biblical theme. There are themes of like scapegoating and sacrificing, especially the new life loophole, which is like a short-term fix. Basically similar to the New Testament old animal sacrifice. The Old Testament's idea where like you sacrifice an animal to God, but it's not a permanent solution until Jesus keep trying to like sacrifice, trade, do a bunch of stuff, but it's like the ultimate sacrifice is your death, and you have to do that one way or another in these stories. It's kind of depressing because like these characters' fates are sealed the second the movie starts. It's actually like these are probably the most like grim, nihilistic films ever. Out of any horror, there's like no hope in these stories at all. Even the false hope that you get is only temporary. It always ends so badly for these people. Fate versus free will, where the characters basically have no real control. The fact that nowhere's safe, everyday life is a potential death trap. It also shows that like there's also order in like all the chaos in the world. The world works in like a lot of interesting ways. The deaths aren't random. They're part of a complex, brutal design. The deaths are a Rube Goldberg machine. They're a chain of reactions, of small reactions that like small innocent things that eventually lead to like a greater disaster. That's where like a lot of the paranoia in the movies and from the people watching them comes from, because there's just so much, like there's so many everyday things even within your house that could just kill you, and the characters joke around about it, like, do I want to stay in a house? There are so many things that could kill me. That's what one character says. So he goes to a hospital, which, how's that even better? Like, I'm thinking of everything in a hospital that could kill you. And the problem is, like, a lot of these deaths are, like, they're exaggerated, of course, but, like, a lot of these deaths have happened before. Like, there was a story literally, like, this year or last year where someone did get caught in an MRI machine. It's horrible. There are stories of people falling into, like, a garbage truck. So, none of these things are ever, like, completely impossible, but they're improbable, and they're more horrific than, I guess, if they were to happen in real life. I've seen psychological profiles to any of these characters. Like, most of them just kind of end up with severe PTSD and, like, paranoia. Those are the only real psychological profiles that are really established in this film or in the films in general. Like, Grandma Iris clearly has like severe PTSD, and you know, instead of the family like trying to get her help or even like trying to believe her or even trying to even listen to her, they just chalked her up as crazy. And they know where she lives too, which is the messed up part. So they don't even bother to even try to visit her or even get her to do anything. Yeah, not even an apology from any of the characters as they found that she was right. Or even like an aside to themselves, like, oh, I guess Grandma was right. The characters don't react realistically at all to any of the deaths. Steph literally has her grandma's face like splattered all over hers, and she's covered in blood, and like she is upset, but like the real PTSD of witnessing something like that is just not even there. It's so weird. Like, they experience so much. Okay, I'll continue that again later, but I really just that's the part of the film that just bothers me the most. I want to go back to like also like more religious themes. Like, there's also a lot of religious stuff, like the Buddhism, Hinduism idea. Like, these characters are trapped into like a brutal cycle of like karma and rebirth, which is like samsara, and also the story of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, where like the world is just kind of like a meaningless thing where these characters endlessly just die, and then there's a new group and it starts all over again, and like it's an endless cycle where new characters die, and then the next new characters die, and the next new characters. And you even see that at the end of Final Destination 5, where it turns out the film was actually a prequel. Wow. You know, that was actually super impressive when I saw that. Like, that was very clever. The other thing that I didn't like is that the film doesn't give off 2000 at all. Like, Final Destination 5, like, the film does not give off like 2000 at all. Not in the clothing, not in anything. So I was like, oh, okay. So that's how they got us. Clever. And also the last theme that I'll get into is like the idea of family curses. So the family's basically like their bloodline. Ha, you get it? Bloodline. You know, it suggests like a generational sin where an ancestor cheated death, and the debt is now being collected from their family. Now I want to get onto like the characters, just talking about them, the characters in general. So yeah, the characters aren't anything special. Like I said in the beginning, it's like the core of the film is that it's about a college girl reconciling with her absent mother. So it's a relationship between mother and daughter, and they're reconciling after the death of a third party, which is the grandmother. So college girl reconciling with her mother. That's the main theme of the film. The rest of the family are basically just fodder for the plot. They're basically they only exist to die. Like the cousin side of the family specifically only exists to be extra bodies to die until we get to the climax of the film. In a sense, they don't matter, and that's why they have kind of like one-note personalities and die quickly. You know, so it's interesting. Eric was the best character in the movie. He even has a Wikipedia page now, which is interesting. You know, his acting was good. The actor was great. And the actor's Canadian from Mississauga. Did anyone believe that? Yeah, Canada. A large amount of the cast in this film is Canadian, which is cool too. Like the main girl's Canadian, and like a significant amount of characters. I think there were a few people from Nickelodeon. I think that Breck Passenger girl from Belle and the Bulldogs was in it. That show's very interesting. That show was like a very interesting lore that I gotta go into, like especially with the director, and that's a story for another time. He also like that show was weird too because you know she had I'll do that show on another day. Actually, there's so many interesting things I can say about it. And also, there was another kid that used to be on Nickelodeon too. Those characters were a bit after my time, like their shows. I think he was on some show like 1,000 Things to Do Before Summer, and he was on Knights Academy. There was also I think the woman from Two Broke Girls, was that the mom from Two Broke Girls? I feel like I'm wrong, but the mom probably maybe. And the dad was very good. The dad played a good dad. You know what's funny? There's a scene where Eric is said to like spoiler alert, I guess. Who cares about a spoiler in a Final Destination movie? But like, there's a scene where like Eric finds out that he's not actually the dad's son, and it's just silly because I think out of all three children, Eric looks the most like the dad. They have like the same exact eyes. So, and the actors are strangers in real life, so it's just funny. They look the most similar out of everyone in the main cast, and they're the ones that are confirmed to not be related. I like this. I like that the show just kind of sidesteps all the drama. The character's just like, okay, to everything that happens, and it's kind of nice. Like, I miss when people were just completely like emotionally mature about things. Not everything was as dramatic. Dun dun dun. Whenever anything happens, they're like, yeah, this happened. Oh well, humans are flawed. What are we gonna do? And they just keep going on. And it's kind of nice that like the characters aren't just getting stuck in nonsensical drama. And also, this is actor Tony Todd's final role. He was very good. You know, I found the origin for his character a bit silly though. They have a scene of his mom being like burned alive, and they show like the reflection in his eyes, which like narratively implies that it will traumatize him. But you know, Iris prevented the vision from happening, so that never happened. So what was the point of showing that shot? So anyway, like every shot in this movie is terrible, like direction wise. The director, whoever directed this, did a horrible job. This movie just looks like crap throughout all of it. It's just covered in CGI when this is clearly a film that should have like insane levels of practical effects. This is like, it's a film about Rube Goldberg machines. Like there should be like a ton of practical effects. Why are you using like a heavy amount of CGI? Just whatever. And the movie starts very seriously. Like it's not a horror film, but it's just there's so many. Okay, but I still have to go back to the CGI thing. Like even the random environments in the background are just CGI, and I'm like, why? You couldn't just build a set? And anyway, so whatever. The movie starts very seriously, which I kind of liked. Like the film makes it very clear it's not a horror film, but it is very gory. Like everyone's just like, it's like a pool of like blood afterwards, blood and just guts, and it's like one of the goriest films I've seen in a long time. But like it's a lot of CGI gore, which kind of dampens and cheapens it. Everyone kind of just dissolves into like this weird goo, which I don't really like all that much. But then the plot goes from like very serious to like it devolves into like a literal comedy around the garbage truck scene. Like after that scene, the movie just devolves into a comedy. Like no one's reactions are realistic anymore. No one's acting normally. It's so weird. It is so weird. And there's one scene where like Eric tries to like poison his brother with a peanut. And I'm like, what is going on? And all the characters just keep making jokes. I understand, like, the film got, like, way too bleak by the time the garbage stuff started happening. Like, the level of bleak, like, that was when the two people I was watching the movie with left. Because, like, it just got so nihilistic and so bloody after that point that, like, it just was not fun anymore. So I understand they tried to bring back the levity in the film. That was, like, the perfect opportunity to do it. I think they realized during, like, test screenings, during like writing it, they realized that, oh, this was actually like too far. We have to really like lighten the mood here. But it cheapens a lot of the film too, because like by the end of the film, like everyone's dead. Like literally, the last two survivors are just Steph and her brother, and the epilogue of the film is 1 week later. It's 1 week later. Oh my gosh, what the heck? It's 1 week after she lost her entire family. She like her entire family died, and these characters are like, oh, okay, time for your graduation, brother, and they're all happy like it's a Lifetime movie at the end. How? The best scene in the film is the hospital scene where Eric and the brother look at the baby and decide they're going to kill it for an extra lifespan, and then they're like, nah. You know what's interesting? Because if this was made in like the 2000s, because like 2000s and the 70s were pretty brutal for film. They totally would have did it. Like, you saw the butterfly effect where, like, the whole film, but, like, also the end where, like, the baby, like, hangs himself. It's, like, you know, like, the 2000s absolutely would have did that. Like, if they thought about it at the time, they would have totally did that plot. But, like, no, we can't really do that anymore. And I'm kind of glad the characters are like, nope. Not only is that messed up, but it's just too easy. It's a very good, like, meta thing. Anyway, the final ending was very dumb. Well, it was very dumb, but it was funny. Everyone basically dies. They somehow they resuscitate Steph because she drowns, and then her brother like brings her back to life, similar to the Final Destination 2's ending. At the end of the epilogue, they find out, oh, Steph didn't actually die. She was just unconscious, and they're like, oh crap. And they get attacked by basically everything, like like two trains and like several like items just like derail and just try to like attack them, and they run and escape all of it. It's the ugly CGI I've ever seen. But the actress at the end has like the worst line delivery ever, where she's like, "Oh, that was close." And, like, who reacts like that? It was so calm. It's like, "Oh, wow, that was close." Like, like she almost got hit by like a paper airplane or something. Oops! Oh, almost hit me. It's like, no, like a literal like train was hurled at you, and she's like, "Oh, wow!" Like it was the end of like freaking Scary Movie. Like why are these people so calm? And once again, it brings back to the fact that the epilogue takes place 1 week after the events. Like, Steph, you lost your entire family to a Lovecraftian horror. You saw all of them die in front of you, brutally. How are you guys back to normal now? Like, what the hell? And also, and one thing that I do like is that the police there's nothing involving the police. Like in the first film, the police are like wondering, why does everyone around you keep dying, and the main character becomes a suspect. The films just don't even bother. They don't even address like the news or like the police or anything involving that. It's just like entirely plot. Like, and I like that. Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but like, do you know how boring and annoying that would be to just go through that again? It's not even the point of the film. So, so anyway, back to the whole Steph's family dying. Like, so her whole family dies. And the cast, and like at the end, the cast is acting like they learned something. She and the brother were like, "We learned a valuable lesson about family." Like, what are you talking about? Your family was already close. Like, I know she had to like reconnect with her mom and grandmother before they died, but like, what? This is like some fucked up version of Encanto. I found my grandma and made it with my mom. Everyone's dead, but still. And everyone dies at the end anyway, so like the whole thing's incredibly nihilistic. Like, people, I guess, like the sympathetic character drama. They didn't take itself too seriously, and the new lore kind of helps and allows for more sequels. There's so much CGI in this movie, so that's also brings it down several points. So I'm probably gonna give this movie like a 6 out of 10, probably lower. It's definitely more of a 5. And that's all. Final Destination's Bloodlines, it kept me engaged the whole time, so that definitely puts it above a 5 in my opinion. But like, it still wasn't that great. But it's good for what it is. It's just a nice little popcorn film that you watch and then kind of forget about.